Hey, this is Grant Luna with Fidelity National Title, and for today's Tech Tuesday video, I'll be showing you how with Fidelity Total Farm you can target off-market properties for a buyer that you're working with. So I figured an example situation would be maybe you have a buyer that's looking for a very particular neighborhood. They've been looking in that area for a while and they can't find a home that'll come on the market. Maybe they've missed out on a property in that area as well. And so what you can do with Fidelity Total Farm is actually create a filter for a potential buyer and find the homeowners that meet that specific criteria of house that they want to move into. And I'll show you a couple of ways in which you can reach out to these people. So let's get into it. So starting first with how to actually create that farm. So I'll use an example of a buyer that I'm working with and they want to live in the South Shores neighborhood of San Pedro. So what I can do is go into my Fidelity Total Farm account. I can select create a farm right here. And then I can just move the map over until I find that specific neighborhood. If I had an address, I can also just locate the neighborhood on a map like this. And that'll geolocate me on this map. And now I know where this area is if I'm aware of what the South Shores area is. And so let's say that they just specifically want the lower South Shores neighborhood. So what I can do is just click to create boundary points. So each time I click, a new white dot appears. And then I finish creating this farm. And then from here, it'll tell me the number of properties that exist. And maybe, like I said, they have a very specific type of house that they actually are looking for and that they want to move into. So off the bat, if it's a single family residence, I can get rid of condos, townhomes, or other types of properties and make sure that this farm only includes single family residences. And so now I can select continue and then get count, and it'll tell me the number of records that exist within this farm. It's 593. I'll send a farm manager and I'll say this is South Shores for buyer clients farm. I'll agree to the data use agreement, then I'll select send. Okay, so now here is that farm that I just created, South Shores for buyer clients farm. So I'll go in here, and this will be basically every single family residence in the lower South Shores area, not dependent on the type of bedroom, bathroom, square footage, whether it has a pool or not. And so what I can actually do is within this farm is I can create a filter for that, because as a reminder, Fidelity Total Farm is a system that has all of these filters pre-created for you. So for example, if I select out of state, it's going to give me the properties in the South Shores area where the owners themselves don't live in the property. But in this case, I want to create my own filter, and that's what's nice about Fidelity Total Farm is you actually have filters that you can create yourself. And so where you go to do that is this filter icon right here. So it's somewhat near that button where you'd go to launch a targeted social media ad, for example, or download this data or export it to another service, and that'll actually come into play later on in the video. So I'll select this filter icon here. And let's say I'm working with this buyer and they want a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom house with more than 1,700 square feet and potentially a pool as well. And so what I can do is actually create a filter that will give me just those houses that are in South Shores. So now I can press this plus button right here to create a new filter. I'll say buyer filter. Now I'll just enter that criteria. So first, this column drop down, I'll select beds right here, and I'll say maybe they want 3 or more bedrooms, and then maybe they want 2 or more bathrooms. So I'll just make sure and is selected, and I'll say greater equals than 2. Obviously lower is equals than would be 2 or less than 2, and then equals obviously would just mean equals. And so like I said, square footage as well. So we'll check this box here and we'll say greater than, maybe they said 1,600. And another one you could do would be has pool equals and then just checkbox. So sometimes it's just going to be a checkbox either saying has a pool or doesn't have a pool in this example case here. But let's say we just cared about right now the beds, bath, and the square footage. So I can save this now. And now it'll give me just the properties that meet this criteria. So now it's 458 properties. Originally, right now, the South Shores farm is 593 properties. So I've essentially reduced the amount of properties that they'd even be interested in this area by over 100 properties. So I can apply this filter, and now it's just giving me the 458. And maybe they actually come back to me and they say, you know what, a pool is actually important to us. We want to make sure there's a pool as well for our kids. So I can press this button here and edit this filter that I just created. And now I'll say and pool equals, check the box. I'll go here, select save. And now it's just 95, right? So now it goes down from 458 to 95. So these are properties that have at least 3 bedrooms, at least 2 bathrooms, at least 1,600 square feet, and a pool. And I can look over here. I see all the bed, baths, the square footage. So basically now I have the option to do different things with this data. So there are 2 ways that I wanted to show you today that would make it effective of reaching out to these people. And I think one would be obviously calling people, right? And it's easy to use a resource like Fast People Search right here, which is a free website basically to get phone numbers. And so if I wanted to obviously avoid the cost of paying for a dialer, I can go through here and obviously it'd be one by one. So it might be a little bit more time intensive. But what I can do is highlight and copy this address here, or I can just remember it, write it down, and go to this page here, paste that address and type in San Pedro. Now it'll search for this. It'll give me the owner's name. I can verify, that it's the same owner on here. It looks to be the same name, Margaret and Margaret here. And then it'll give me phone numbers associated with that property, as well as it can link to other people that are relatives of the owner if I can't get a hold of them, if I'm really working hard, potentially and exhausting all options as a realtor for the clients that I'm working for. So that's one simple solution of, okay, I'm going to get this list of people and I'm going to start reaching out to them and I'm going to start hitting the phones. Another option is using that data and using some automated service to get content to them en masse. And I think one way that I was doing when I was working open houses a lot, and maybe we sold a property that I sat an open house at really fast, and I would send basically handwritten cards and letters to the homeowners around there and say, hey, I worked with buyers at this open house. They really like the area. They missed out on this one. Would you be interested in selling? And the handwritten touch, I think, can go a long way at getting people at least to look at the thing instead of seeing a generic postcard and just instantly throwing it in the trash. And what's nice is there is an automated service to be able to do this at scale and with speed, because let's say originally you were going to do the 498 homes, right? And to handwrite a lot of those would take a lot of time. Instead, what you can do is use a service that'll do that automatically for you. And a good service for that is a service called handwrite.io up here. And it's basically a service that allows you to upload a stationery of your own, create a custom message, and they have a robot that will actually handwrite these notes and handwrite the envelope that these notes are basically mailed in. And so people will see that, it'll be stamped, it'll be handwritten, and actually has that personal touch associated with it. And what's nice is you can upload a list of contacts from Fidelity Total Farm into handwrite.io and actually start sending some of these out. So I think the important thing for handwrite.io is just coming up with stationery that you think is cool. They also just have pre-made stationaries, but they're mostly around like birthdays and celebrations. They do have some default ones down here. But I was messing around on Canva and just created something like this. There was an agent that I did a mastermind with not too long ago who said they did a strategy like this of reaching out to homeowners in the area for their buyers and would do a wanted poster for the homeowner and do like a description of the homeowners and things like that. So I wanted to follow that theme and I created this. And just to show you how I went about doing that is I just started on Canva and I searched basically for wanted. And I just searched wanted here. I had wanted poster option, so I just selected this one. And then obviously this isn't in the format needed for handwrite.io, which is more of a note format. So I went to resize up here and then just scrolled down and found a note card and then just resized it right here. And then it gave me this new version and I just expanded this outwards. So if obviously you want more information on how to do something like this, let me know. Happy to help you, but that's the quick version of how I went about designing this card. So now I had it here. I downloaded it to my computer by selecting share, then download, and then just downloaded it as an image. So then I went over to handwrite.io, and what I did is I basically uploaded the stationery. So I made sure stationery was selected after I have an account and I'm logged in. I selected add stationery. I just named it buyer need. And then I uploaded that image from my computer that I had downloaded, and then just resized it a little bit, selected crop, and then uploaded that to the computer. So the next step will be getting contacts from Fidelity Total Farm that I'm sending this card to. So then what I can do is come over here to Fidelity Total Farm, to this export button or the share button with the 3 dots here. And then I can go over to third party and select handwrite.io. And I select OK. And the key part to remember for exporting data from Fidelity Total Farm is it does matter what filter you have selected when you're exporting data or downloading this Excel sheet. Because let's say I didn't have this filter applied, or maybe I did one day and I got the filter. I said, okay, it's 95 records. I'll do this later today. And then I logged out of Fidelity Total Farm and I came back in and I said, okay, let's go to my South Shores for Buyer Clients Farm. And I'm going to go and export that data, go to the share button, third party, handwrite.io, and I download it. In this case, it's going to give me the 593 records because that's what's filtered, right? So I'd have to come back in here and make sure that I have this filter selected and apply it and then export the data. And that's true of running targeted social media ads as well and buying phone numbers and emails through the system. It matters what filter you have selected. So I just download it from here. Then I'll go to handwrite.io and go to my contacts. And then what I'll do is I'll say CSV upload. And then I will get this. Actually, I don't know if I could drag it over, so I'll just get it from the computer. So I'll browse files, upload data from file, import that file now. Since I downloaded already from Fidelity Total Farm pre-formatted, it's going to do the automatic format matching for me. So it just makes it a little bit easier to do that. I'll review this. I'll select continue. I don't think any of these will cause an error. It says you have 3 rows that have unresolved format issues. So I'll probably just discard those 3 in just case and submit the rest. I could go back and change it if I wanted to. I'll select add recipients, and now I have them in here. So now they're all added in here. So now what I can do is I can add a template. And so what I did is I created this one earlier, a buyer for neighborhood, just saying I have a family that would like to purchase a home in your neighborhood. They like the area, schools, and proximity to other amenities. Would you consider a market price offer? My clients will pay escrow and title fees and close on your timeline. So what I did is I selected new template. I just added a name for the template. This is a key part here. So if I select first name and it's in these brackets, what it will do when it's creating these notes, it's actually going to put in the person's first name, and then I can type out the message here and save it. So now I'll select X, and then now I can just go to dashboard. I'll say send now. I will say add recipients, and I can select all of those. It'd actually probably make more sense to upload the CSV in this step. So the way I just did it probably isn't the most ideal. I'd probably go through the process of launching the card and upload the data as you're launching the card. But let's just select one of these just to be able to move to the next step. I'll select next. And now I can just select this card on the front. So just to zoom in to show you, it's that one card we created over here that I downloaded, and then just select next and then send the card. Choose which font you want. So they have these different fonts you can pick from. And I believe even when you sign up for an account, they give you a credit that you can use. So you select use a template here and then just find this one, insert it. So like I said, I think they actually give you a couple of credits to actually work with initially if you create an account. It did when I remember I actually created this handwrite.io account, and I think I was able to send 2 automatically, and I just sent them to my house just to see how they would look, and it looked pretty cool. So you select next and then finish sending. So obviously I think this is a way to do this easier, right? Let's say there's 4 neighborhoods that your homeowner that you're working with is interested in. You can do 4 farms, do this each time, and then launch these postcards. And obviously what's cool in my opinion, besides just this particular situation, is the fact that once you get the mechanics down of creating the farm, getting the data, and then exporting it to something like handwrite.io, you can actually do that for different purposes. It doesn't have to be just a situation like this. It could be sending these to absentee owners. It could be sending it to homeowners that are 55 years or older and could use things like Proposition 19. It could be to homeowners that are eligible for homeowners exemption but haven't filed theirs. So the ideas are there and the options are there, how you can use the general mechanics. It's just getting used to them and feeling comfortable with them, and the ideas will come. So if you want to sit down with me one-on-one and go over how you can do this, or how you can set up something similar to this for your farming system or your CRM system, always feel free to contact me at 310-480-1085. But there's also 2 links in the description to schedule a Zoom meeting with me or an in-person meeting with me.